South American football is known for its flair, intense rivalries, producing some of the biggest names in the sport and some of the most successful national teams of all time. But there is one aspect of South American football that doesn't get enough attention, something that regularly impacts matches and decides tournaments. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the role that altitude plays in South American football. Have you ever wondered why some of the strongest South American teams crumble when they travel to places like La Paz or Quito? Or how Bolivia, a nation rarely tipped for World Cup success, dominates giants like Argentina and Brazil? At home, it's not just about tactics, it's about altitude. Altitude isn't just a geographic number, it's a game changer. The higher you go, the lower the air pressure, meaning there's less oxygen. At over 3,600 meters above sea level, like in La Paz, there's around 30% less oxygen than at sea level. This has serious effects on players not used to these conditions. These include breathlessness, headaches, nausea, dizziness, muscle fatigue, and dehydration. These conditions reduce aerobic performance, make it harder for players to recover, and increase the risk of injury and illness. That's a major issue when there's no time to acclimatize before match day. And in South American football, packed schedules mean just that. The numbers speak for themselves. Low-altitude teams consistently struggle when they play in high-altitude cities. They score fewer goals and concede more as the gap in altitude grows. On average, sea-level teams score 0.2 fewer goals per game when playing away in high altitude. Meanwhile, high-altitude teams perform better against other high-altitude teams, averaging 0.12 more goals per game than when they travel to sea level. This shows that familiarity with altitude gives a performance edge, but it's a double-edged sword. The Bolivian national team is the perfect example of the altitude advantage. Despite being ranked among the weaker nations in CONMEBOL, Bolivia has one of the strongest home records in World Cup qualifying. Even giants like Argentina and Brazil have lost in La Paz, often looking exhausted and sluggish, while Bolivia presses with surprising intensity. And it's not just the national team. Bolivian clubs, particularly from cities like La Paz and Oruro, have historically overperformed in the Copa Libertadores because of their home record. Teams that would otherwise be seen as underdogs dominate simply because the air is thinner. But here's where it gets interesting. There's evidence of a reverse effect too. Teams that are used to playing at altitude often underperform at sea level. Why? Some theories suggest it's due to lower red blood cell counts after returning to normal oxygen levels, differences in training intensity, or even a psychological drop-off from losing their natural advantage. So while altitude is a weapon, it's one that comes with trade-offs. You might think, why don't teams just arrive early and adapt? In theory, yes. But in reality, busy fixture lists, tight budgets, and logistical hurdles mean visiting teams often arrive just a day or two before the game. That's not nearly enough time to acclimatize. The body usually needs at least 7 to 10 days to adjust to high altitude. Instead, teams are often stuck between two bad options: arrive early and suffer fatigue, or arrive late and struggle with adaptation. Neither works particularly well, and that's why home advantage at altitude remains so powerful. So the next time you see a South American heavyweight stumble away in La Paz or Quito, remember, it's not just tactics or off days. It's physics, biology, and geography all teaming up against them. Altitude is South America's secret 12th man, and it's here to stay.